Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode on Alto Call, a Married at First Sight podcast. I'm so excited for my guest today, and my guest is Nicole. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. The people will be so happy to hear from you. People kept telling me, oh, they loved you when you came back last time.
Oh,
So I'm excited because you have a different perspective, and I always enjoy, talking to you about this.
well, thank you for having me. I always love to share my voice wherever I can. You know that.
So, how has life been? I mean, I saw you on TV.
You know,
You know.
just on the local news. No, life is good. Just living the housewife life. Chris travels a lot for work now, so it's just me and the dogs. Not a
Oh,
lot of excitement going on, but that's okay. We're
yeah.
working on it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you get to live life on your own terms and do what you want to do, and you have the dogs to keep you company.
Oh yeah, I would be lost without them. So very thankful they're mama's boys.
I have a question for you. Did you watch the Hall of Fame episode?
I did not because I saw it was all about season 18 and I needed a little break, but I will go back and watch it.
Okay, well,
Oh, wait, no.
no,
The Hall of Fame.
yeah, the Hall of Fame was where they were giving awards out to
Yes.
people.
I
And
thought you meant
yeah.
the other one. I did watch it. I watched parts of it. I was just fast forwarding for my face, but I was on there a lot. Thank you, Married at First Sight.
You sure were. And let me just share with you, award season ended not long ago. We're going to do ours on here. You and Chris were nominated for two categories. You were nominated solo. You guys were nominated for Straight Out of a Rom-Com.
I think we won that one.
No, you didn't win that one.
We didn't?
You won Favorite Fairy Tale Couple. Yeah. Because I
We didn't
rewatched
pay
it to
that
make
close
sure.
attention. Well, either way, thank you. Thank you for whoever voted for us.
And Most Lovable Goofball, you were nominated for.
Yeah, I saw that. Clint and I made the top 3. I was very excited about
You
that.
sure did. So I want to give you the opportunity to give your speech here. Because you just won. I'm going to clap right now and give you your applause.
Oh my God, I love that. Well, thank you, everyone out there. I don't know who voted, but thank you for anyone who decided that Chris and I should be even nominated in these categories with a wonderful group to be nominated with. And we're very honored that people still care about us. And hopefully we'll be nominated for more stuff in the future. Who knows?
Well done. Congratulations, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right. Not a lot going on with the past participants, but I did notice that Eris has moved out of Nashville.
He's moving in a few weeks. He got a new job in DC.
Yeah.
So he's leaving us and I'm very upset about it, but I didn't really see him that often. So I don't know why I'm so upset because I can still talk to him on the phone. Like we text frequently, but
Yeah.
just not having him. I used to actually run into him or I would see him literally like run into him as he's running all the time. So I won't have any error sightings, but I'm happy for him. It's a good job and he's excited about the move.
Oh, that's awesome. He's moving to my area, so I'll keep my eye out if I spot Eris around
You
town.
might. He's always running, so you might literally see him.
Okay. All right. So coming into this episode, what were your thoughts about this? Are you keeping up with the shenanigans and all of that stuff?
I mean, I'm always keeping up with the shenanigans, but it kind of, I don't know if you've been following the shenanigans outside of the show with, there's like Juan and Carla drama that I've been seeing. So that was actually interesting timing because it was happening as the episode was airing. So I was watching, I had my popcorn, but I did think it was interesting that this was all recorded so much later than filming had ended. So it was kind of a new, I don't know if it was intentional, but it was a new twist on it where it was really, where are they now a full year later?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that because it wasn't the fresh out of the marriage situation. It was more like we've moved on with our lives. So I hope they continue with that actually.
I don't know if they will because this season had the anomaly of being delayed for so long for whatever reason after Denver. So
right.
I think it pushed everything just much further out. But to your point, I agree. Like it was just much better to see what it is after so much time has passed by versus like 4 months. Some might disagree with me because I've had a couple of guests say they want the fresh anger, so they get the fresh mess.
The reunion, yes. I want the reunion to be right after filming.
Yeah.
But the Where Are They Now, Because if you don't have enough time, then they're really not anywhere. Like for us, I think it was only a few months and we were like, yeah, we're still in the same place. And we filmed our Where Are They Now maybe a month after the reunion. So we didn't have any updates to share outside of the reunion. So I wish those were further apart.
Yeah.
But I like the Where Are They Now being later. But who knows with it going on Peacock? I don't know if they'll even continue with that episode. Because that was new, I think. Maybe not new, but...
It was newish.
Yeah,
it's new era MAFS for sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember the first story. Yeah,
they did it in San Diego, but that might have been the first season. So who knows if they'll continue with it.
But from your point of view, from a production standpoint, if they've already started filming another season, is there enough crew to like come back and then film like a Where Are They Now concurrently while they're filming a new season? Is that?
Yeah, so they filmed our Where Are They Now when the Denver season was still going on, but the Denver season was. They were doing that after Decision Day stuff. And the producers and everyone that was with us for Where Are They Now were not the people on the Denver crew. Like there were a few here and there, like some camera people, some sound people, but none of the main people. So they actually brought back producers who were on our season that had not been on the Denver season because their couples had left already or they just weren't on that season. So they brought them back to work our special. So yeah, they can do them at the same time.
Okay, they can. And it's funny, you did mention like the whole thing with Peacock. I think one of the questions that I've had is if After Party is going to follow on that. And I can't believe the number of times that we've had you on. I haven't asked this question. How did it plan out for After Party? Are you contracted to do a certain number? Is it just who's available? How is that schedule done?
So I don't actually know fully how it's done, but you're not obligated to do any certain number. They'll just say, are you around this weekend, this weekend, this weekend? And what they usually do is they'll film like 2 or 3 episodes in a day. So, and you can't be on there with your spouse. So if Chris and I were to fly out together, which we rarely did actually, but if we were to fly out together, they would have me on episode 1, him on episode 2, or me on 1 and 3, him on 2, something like that. So it depends on what the episode is, because if it's an episode where I was really prominent in it or Chris had a big moment, they would obviously want that person there, but it was a scheduling thing. So they tried to get us all, as many people I would imagine at one time. So this way they could just film them, but it didn't always work out like that. So I think I went to almost all of them. There was one in Atlanta because Keisha was pregnant that I didn't go to, but that ended up being a nightmare because all flights were canceled and they had to take this like sketchy van and drive there. So,
oh gosh,
craziness.
Well, has there ever been a case where because they're filming multiple episodes, they have couples that not hate each other, but don't really like each other? Do they just keep them separated in the back, or they just don't have them fly out at the same time at all?
I don't know. I only know from my season, and none of us had any issue with anyone, but they would get you to the studio at your different call time. So if, let's say I was the first episode, I would probably be picked up at like 6 a.m. Yeah. Maybe more like 7, but picked up at 7. And then let's say Chris was on the 3rd episode, he might not even be picked up until 2 o'clock. So they could separate them. Or if I was on 2 episodes, I would just stay in the dressing room and change clothes and wait, because they're not going to bring you back to the hotel. So I would imagine they take that into consideration, but you don't really have to interact. I know for Denver, they were like, the girls wouldn't even stay in the same hotel as the guys, which I thought was silly. But yeah, that was, but they all hated each other. So even with all the drama in Chicago, it's nice that they can all be in the same room and not want to kill each other. That's very refreshing.
Okay. So Keisha knows what happens, or does she not? Because she always says, I don't know what's happening, I'm still watching, but does she know?
I don't think so. I think she sees the clips ahead of when they show them on the after party, but I don't think she's seen episodes past that because, well, unless she's very good at staying tight-lipped, because we would ask her and she'd be like, I really don't know. But even off camera, she would say that. So I really don't think she does, but I think that's intentional. So this way she doesn't have any biased opinions. So I loved After Party. I mean, I wish they brought us out to more, because filming and watching it was way better than filming the show, honestly.
I know. That's something I really hope that they keep. And again, we're still waiting to see where Peacock takes the show, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. All right, we might as well just start with the whole Brandon Ikechi thing. What was your reaction once? What is your reaction to that whole thing?
I wish people could see my face because I try to not say mean things about people that I don't know because I
Yeah,
really don't know. But
yeah.
the whole Brandon situation was just so icky and performative. And I still don't understand. And I know it's not their place to explain their situation to me or anyone else, but
Mhm.
why is he so gross? Like, we do not need to know that you're trying for a baby. We don't need to know that you were drinking Hennessy last night and you were proposing and having sex and all these things. Like, you're a grown up. Don't do that. That's really disgusting. You have young kids. Don't do that. So he kind of grosses me out.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird that he proposed 8 million times, that they were matching all the time, that he asked Pastor Cal to marry them when he didn't even know Pastor Cal. So I really found it very distasteful. But on the other hand, she seems happy and it's her relationship. So if she's happy, what does it matter if I'm grossed out by him?
Yeah, I think that's where I am too. I think the problem is we met first. She went through that whole thing with the Keiichi, and then we meet her current partner, and we can't reconcile the two. Like,
Right.
why would what we think of be with someone like Brandon? Because I think I said in my last episode, when he's doing all his antics and stuff, she doesn't seem embarrassed. Because I'm looking like, are you cringing with the rest of us? And she's
She's
not,
not.
and she's fine with it. So I'm at the point where, again, I don't know her, but I'm like, you like it, I love it. Like, there's nothing else.
Right. Right. I think after her marriage, she is so wanting someone to just be all about her. And he's so all about So I think she really enjoys that. And it's not for me, but again, not my marriage, not my problem. So I just hope he makes good on the promise to always treat her well and be good to her because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And yeah,
Yeah,
he's yucky, but
yeah. Especially if they're gonna bring a kid into this, which is what they are trying for. But the episode does start with them still trying to sell us that this was a leap of faith. And this is where we find out that the reunion was like a couple of weeks ago, and he is officially divorced. So right now they're just waiting for her divorce to be over, but they have decided that they're having a commitment ceremony. Now, this doesn't apply to you, Nicole, because you are happily married. But
I am.
do you know if divorces are like, is it harder because of like the different states or just because the other party is being difficult? I know with Lauren, she shared on Instagram how it's just been difficult to get a divorce with Orion. I know you had Beth on your show,
Hmm.
Dealist Diaries, also talking
Yeah.
about it's still, well, that's not part of the show, but
Right.
I don't know if it's like the states or anything. I don't know if you have any insight into what prolongs, a divorce, I guess, when it comes to the
So
show.
I say we, not me, obviously, but
Yeah.
people on the show can't even file for divorce until the last episode airs. So they
Hmm.
weren't even allowed to legally file until this past week. And then depending on the state, I know for Nashville, you have to have a 6-month waiting period after you
Well,
file because, they consider it like separation just to make sure you're sure, even though obviously it was a real marriage, but they're sure
yeah.
they wanted to get divorced. So
Yeah.
they couldn't even file until, for us, we got married in July. They couldn't file till the following July. And then most divorces weren't granted until December. And I know it could have been delayed had people not signed their paperwork. I know for Kirsten and Shaq, he was already living in Austin at that point. So there
Mhm.
was a different state. It wasn't an issue at all. Like, he just mailed it in, but it was an extra step that some people who are trying to be difficult might not have taken. So I could see that prolonging the divorce, but I don't understand why any of these people would want to
Want
stay
to
married.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine anyone being spiteful enough to not grant the divorce.
Yeah.
But
And
I
then
don't know.
Kinetic or Lifetime or whoever, they financially they take care of all of that, or are they on their own?
I think they take care of it up to a certain extent. If I'm remembering correctly, if you wanted an annulment, I don't remember what the rules were, but that was something separate and extra. I don't remember, honestly. I was so
Okay.
happy in my wedded bliss. I was like, whatever, deal with your divorces. I don't care.
Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause, it's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. We don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltarCallMAFS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltarCallMAFS, that's AltarCallMAFS, for 15% off today. Okay, so going back into the very beginning, before you even get married, what are the rules for like prenups, postnups? Are you on your own on that, or does the show...
In your contract, I don't remember the exact wording, but it basically says whatever you came in with is yours, and then that's that. So it's essentially a prenup in your contract. And if you wanted anything above and beyond, like if Chris and I wanted to maybe amend that, since we did stay married, we probably could have, but everyone on their divorce, it was just no contest, like regular basic divorce. No one had any assets that they shared. So there shouldn't be any kind of issue because there is that, I guess, clause in the contract, but they also can recommend lawyers who have been doing this. So it really should not be as complicated as some people are making it seem.
Yeah.
But again, I don't have firsthand knowledge on the divorce process. All I know is everyone in my season got very easily divorced.
Okay. Good to know. Well, back to MM and Brandon, because I call Brandon a cast member now. I think maybe what I was thinking is they were just looking to have happy couples. It doesn't matter how it came about. And that's why David and Madison were getting featured so heavily. And then MM and Brandon, and then Camille and Thomas. They just didn't want it to be Camille and Thomas. That's my only explanation as to why they slid him in so easily. And he was just making an appearance. Brandon, that is.
I think it also added drama a little bit, but more so viewers were interested. Like I know I was watching because I wanted to see what was happening next. So for them, that's good for ratings because no one really cares. I mean, I love Carla and whatever, but no one cares to watch them just being boring and breaking up. Like no one is really interested in that anymore. So I think this added an extra element of entertainment. And I have a feeling based on how he was acting, they were like, do you want to film? And he was like, where do I sign? What time do I be there? What should we wear as a matching couple? So I think he was very interested in it. And they asked almost all of us to bring someone to the reunion. So theoretically, we could have had people come with us and film with us, but no one, I think Jasmine brought her friend and maybe Shaq and Kirsten brought their moms, but no one else wanted to bring anyone. We were like, we're not bringing boyfriends and girlfriends. That's weird.
Wait, for the reunion, not where are they now?
Yes, for the reunion, they asked us to bring people. And then I'm imagining if like Jasmine filmed with her now fiance during, I can't remember if it was Where Are They Now or the After Decision Day. They all blend.
Yeah.
But they asked her to bring him to the reunion as well. So he could have been there. He could have been at Where Are They Now maybe. Ours was like a retreat though. So ours was a little different, but that's because we all liked each other. So we were able to stay in the same house for a weekend. But I'm imagining anyone could have brought someone significant to Where Are They Now filming had we not done a retreat, but we did not want to.
Oh, that's interesting because I was just saying like they're shying away from having extra people at the reunion. It seems for the last couple of seasons, we used to have them back in the day, but not anymore. It's just strictly the couple. So interesting to see that they wanted to go that direction. Well, Brandon set this up for them in the reunion part. I can't remember what part it was when he asked Pastor Cal to marry them, even when they weren't
ridiculous.
So I think they took him up on that. And Pastor Cal showed up at their home to talk to them because at the reunion he said he had to cancel them. And this is when I noticed that they are living in MM's place. I saw the views and I'm like,
he was living on
okay.
his sister's couch before.
Yeah. And now they're there. So, I mean, again, she likes it. We love it, Nicole.
Yeah. And I appreciate that Pastor Cal asked every single question we were all thinking. I was really expecting him to go in there and be like, oh, this is great. Love is love. But he asked the questions. Is this love bombing? Like, how do you know you're right for each other? And if two people think they're right for each other, even if you don't believe it, who are we to say that they're not? So I was happy that he asked them the questions. He did talk to them. And then finally was like, okay, if this is what you want, I'll help you with it.
Yeah, and he did clarify on his Instagram that what we were shown was just a snippet, and they talked for a really long time and talked about, a lot more stuff than we saw. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
Feels better. But again, while talking to them and asking them all the right questions, Brandon, does the clapping again.
Disgusting.
Just to indicate why.
If Chris ever acted like that, he would not have a wife anymore. I would be mortified. And also, he's not 18. So I don't know why that behavior is acceptable from a grown man.
I already had issues with him bringing up the miscarriage. Like, even if they agreed to talk about it, I still think it should come from her.
I
agree.
It's
her body. And he does this thing again where he brings up an app. Thank you for sharing the app with me when we need that. And I'm just...
disgusting.
We don't need to know all that. You just grow your family and yes, it's a reality show, but even for that, even we don't want to know, as nosy as we are.
And he's not on the show. Like, he's on it as a side character, but he is not a main character in this show. So we don't need his full reality. And I really think he was doing all of that to try to get a reaction out of someone, or to try to be cool, or, oh my God, you're having sex, you're using the app, whatever. Like, no one thinks you're cool. If you're going to be married, keep your business to yourself. Chris and I are not out there telling everyone about our sex life because we're not on TV anymore and we're married. So no one needs to know what's going on behind closed doors. And I just wanted to ask him, who are you doing this for? Because it's not for Pastor Cal. It's not for MM. Is it for your ex-wife? I don't know. Akechi, he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care.
No.
And I think what's so telling is at the reunion when he made that odd comment where he was like, I love that I'm in this room just because she's in this room. This is how we're growing. It was just so odd because I interpreted it to mean like, look, I'm on TV just because of MM. And would I have been here if it wasn't for her? And he's just looking to be in the limelight. But I don't know. They're in matching yellow. That was
weird.
His idea.
It's weird.
To be matching. And just the other thing of my goal is to make you a mother.
It's like a fetish thing almost. And he has kids. He's like, I want to be the best dad. Like, you already have the opportunity to be a dad. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have children if they're happy and in love and that's what they want. I'm happy for them. But he's acting like he doesn't have a family already. So I just want to know, are his kids watching this? Are they knowing what he's doing? Are his schoolmates or their schoolmates seeing this? Because I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for his kids.
Yeah, but I'm sure he doesn't care about any of it. But I am glad that Pastor Cal made mention of his personality in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
He's like, because you're a lot. It's big. And then he doesn't care. Like Brandon was just like, yes, it is. Like, I take over the room, and MM seems really proud of that. But in the midst of all that, though, we did find out something personal about him, that his dad committed suicide, and he was just reconnecting with him, and he left a note on there. And that's the reason why he says he wants to be married and be the best dad. But like you said, you have been married.
Right.
And you were already hopefully being the best dad. Like I see him with his kids on Instagram. We don't know. We're not in there, but it seems like they have a good relationship. And MM says that she's also integrated with them and they call her also. So to say that's why you want to be married when you've already been married is kind of weird.
It's very weird, but I'm just going to chalk it up to, we don't know everything and they're happy, and we don't have to like them as a couple because we're not watching them on TV anymore. So good riddance.
That's true.
I wish them well.
Pastor Cal gives his approval, like you said, and they didn't ask for ours, but we give them their approval too. It is.
Yeah, they can have it. They can have it.
What it is. We just want everybody to be happy. Everybody deserves love. All right, Madison and David.
Unpopular opinion, but I actually really like them together.
Okay.
I do not agree with how they started. I wholeheartedly disagree with the lying and the sneaking behind everyone's backs. However, marrying a stranger is weird and unconventional. Marrying or dating someone else's husband, wife is bad and also weird and unconventional, but I don't want to judge them for how they started when right now, from what we know, they are doing really well. They seem to really complement each other. They seem like a very good match. And at the end of the day, I don't really care how they got together anymore because it's been over a year and they seem to be really happy. So again, as much as I do not like how they got together, I'm like, well, what were they supposed to do? Even if they waited, the end result would be the same. So is it any worse that they didn't wait the 8 weeks? Like, yeah, a little, but I don't know.
I think it would be worse because there were casualties. If there were no casualties, maybe. Like, Alan's feelings were really hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And he was embarrassed on national television. So I think that is the big difference between them just waiting. Like, I think, to your point, it's fine that they're together now. And, for the fact that they've lasted a little over a year and now it's a year and a half, it should be, give or take, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it should be a year and a half and they seem happy. Great. I'm glad that it worked out, for them. But, 8 weeks is not a long time.
No, and I agree. Like, they could have waited. But my thing is, like, they were developing these feelings regardless. So if they had waited, unless they were fully honest, there was really no solution, because even waiting the 8 weeks, they still would have been lying behind everyone's back. So at some point, someone's feelings were going to get hurt. What they should have done is just been honest. But I also don't know how I would have handled that situation if 4 weeks into it, Chris was like, hey, I'm actually developing feelings for Gina. Like, thank you for the honesty, but I'm going to stab you now. So I don't know really what the best way to approach it was. And it's very easy. I mean, I was heated when I saw that because I loved him. I was like, David, how could you do that? But they're happy. And just like Em and Brandon, it's not their place to make sure I'm happy with how they met and started dating. So I wish them well. And I hope they stay together forever because that'll make this all worth it. And if not, joke's on all of us, I guess. I don't know.
Do you watch Married at First Sight Australia?
I don't, but I hear it's very dramatic.
It is very dramatic. There is, the current season is about to end next week, and this might be the first where there's no complete cheating. There was a kind of, but it was not complete cheating. But I think one of my listeners was wondering if you think that this is going to set some kind of precedence where it's like, I came for love. It doesn't have to be with who I'm matched with.
Well, so in my season, Gina and Mac had a little chemistry and they waited the 8 weeks. They got everyone's blessing. They went on a date. It just wasn't, there was no romantic chemistry, but they tried it. So I think there's always been that option of seeing what else is out there, but I don't think this is setting a precedent for other couples to intertwine like this because it's a very rare situation. Like, how do you even get to know someone else's spouse that early on? The only reason that they really got to know each other is because Michelle wanted nothing to do with David and Madison wanted nothing to do with Alan. So they were both looking for escapes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really happen. Like, I would not have had an opportunity to have one-on-one time with any of the other husbands until maybe a few weeks in.
Did Gina really have anything for Mac? I didn't think she did. I just thought it was a TV thing. I maybe on his end, yeah, but Gina, I didn't see that.
I mean, he's cute, so I think she was like, "Oh, he's cute," and he was into her. So they went on one date, and that was it. It wasn't like head over heels in lust. It was just kind of like, oh, there's a little bit of attraction there, but it wasn't it.
Okay.
But they tried. You don't know until you try.
Yeah. That's true. Is Max still even in he's not in Nashville anymore, is he?
No, he's been back in Michigan for a while now, like over a year.
Okay. So David and Madison, I think the only thing for me is when they were trying to tell us the timeline of what was going on, I'm like, they still seem awkward around each other, but deep in my heart, I know that they've had sex. But now, a year and a half later, I'm still feeling that they're awkward around each other. I'm like, wait, I guess this is just their vibe. To me, it just feels
I agree, but
awkward.
it could be because they know they're seen as villains, so the cameras maybe make it a little more awkward, but I don't know. They do seem when they show them around their families, they seemed a lot more natural and relaxed. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just when they're alone on camera
Hmm.
because they have to keep talking about the Michelle and the Alan. It's been a year already, so it probably feels very forced. Is what
Hmm.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're talking. As we learned, David has moved into Madison's apartment and he's making her breakfast. They talk about something coming up and if they're nervous to see Michelle, and then in a timely manner, the smoke alarm goes off, and
Yeah,
that made me laugh.
yeah. It was listening. It
Yeah.
was fun.
David says he's done with his apology. He's not wasting his energy and he advises Madison not to. Madison says that she is indifferent and she will be civil. She hasn't told her dad that they live together yet. And David jokes that, well, is he going to ask me for an STD test? Which is funny because
Yeah.
a guest had asked that question, which I completely forgot about. Like, why does Alan have to show an STD test? David has to show one
Right. Right. That was funny.
also. They talk about their future plans. Madison says she doesn't want to stay in Chicago forever, and he said he's down. Like as long as they love each other wherever she is, he is fine. Madison brings up struggling with how poorly Michelle treated him because she's protective of him. What Michelle did was hurtful and demeaning, and she feels like at the reunion she didn't apologize, and she just wants to know how he feels. So I wanted to know, how did you feel about what she said?
It's interesting because I totally agree with David. Like he should be done apologizing. He did his apology tour. He made his peace with it. And I do think Michelle needed to apologize, so I'm happy that she did later on, but I feel like Madison is doing that thing where she knows she messed up and instead of taking accountability, she's kind of pushing all of this blame on Michelle.
Yeah.
She did not or Michelle did not treat David well. Like that is there's no argument there, but the fact that she keeps pressing it and saying she should apologize and
Mhm.
I'm indifferent, like I think she just doesn't want to accept that she did something to Michelle because honestly, I think out of anyone, Madison should apologize to Michelle. David apologized, Madison or Michelle owned what she did. Why is Madison not addressing how she acted, even when they showed that behind the scenes of her reacting to
Right.
Michelle when she was lying?
Yeah.
So I didn't like that she's continuing to push this narrative of Michelle's the enemy here because they're all kind of enemies. Like we just need to cut ties and make peace with it. But I did like his reaction. Like he apologized. He doesn't need an apology from her, but I am happy he got one because I do think he needed that.
Yeah. I think I put out a poll and asked, and some people were like, no, Michelle does not need to apologize to him. And I was like, no, I think she does. I think recency bias makes people think or forget how awful Michelle was to him. Like, no matter what he did at that time, we didn't know.
Right.
And no one deserved to be treated or talked to the way that she did. So I'm glad that she did apologize. What I'm surprised by is that David actually voiced out that I don't hate anybody, but I really dislike her. That's very surprising to me because he's always tried to put out the I'm a good person, I'm a good guy thing. So I was surprised.
I think honestly, I'm not so surprised because he does seem like a good guy, but I think he also has like a little bit of a dark side. I'm not shocked at all that he would harbor those feelings for Michelle. And I think a lot of his actions were because he knew he was on camera. So he really was putting it on a little bit. Not to say
Hmm.
he's not always like that, but I think he made sure to extra always be this good gentleman guy. But then behind the scenes, he was texting someone else's wife. So I don't, I'm not surprised that he feels that way. But I think at the end of the day, like I said before, they just needed to all cut ties. Talking about who was wrong, who did what, like that's not going to get us anywhere. It was a bad match and that's not really their fault. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's an expert situation. They were put in a bad situation and they handled it poorly.
Yeah. I think going back to what you said, where, where would they have time to get to know each other? And I think David said, from day one, he was infatuated with her. This is what I'm concerned about their relationship, where it feels like they do love each other, but it feels like David is the one that's like smitten to the core
Yeah.
in it.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
almost feels like, I don't know if his blonde fetish plays a part. It didn't matter who it was because he was smitten by Michelle until he found out that, okay, she's not into me. So that was it. And who was the other blonde that was on there? It was Madison. Granted, the whole year and a half kind of covers that up. But I'm just wondering if, what am I trying to say? He just seems like there's stars in his eyes still. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I got a girl like this.
Yeah, but that I think that's a good thing. I always want my man to look at me and be like, "Wow, I can't believe she's mine." But I do agree. He seems way more into it than her, but not that she's not into it at
Yeah.
all.
Hmm.
I think he's also more of a puppy dog. Like
Yeah.
she dictates the relationship and he's happy to oblige just to make her happy. And that's not a negative, that's just a personality. So he's
Yeah.
a little bit of a golden retriever in that sense. But I really do see them lasting because of the trauma bond that brought them together. I think they'll always have that, and that will lay a really nice foundation for their future. So I do see, I don't know if they'll get married. He was pushing it a lot. Like, I want to make her my wife, talking to her
Mhm.
dad. I think that's a little premature, but again, I married someone I didn't know at all. So it's very hard for me to say that. But at this point, I have amnesia. Like, I've forgotten how I met my husband. And now I just think of myself as someone who's been married for a few years. So I can make these observations.
I think that's where it works for them, where he's so smitten by her and then she enjoys being adored. Not that anyone doesn't, but there are people who just like, I want you every single day to feel like you said, like I'm the prize, like she needs that, and then they match in that way. So they'll fill each other's love tank in that
No,
way.
Alan did adore her, but you only want someone to act that way when you're into them. So
Into them, yeah.
I don't blame her for how she's acting because I get it. She's attracted to David. She was not attracted to Alan. So of course she wants that attention from him.
Yeah. David's mom did say like she feels like Madison is the one. That's a huge statement.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously more going on than we know. So I guess maybe she sees how happy he is. I mean, it's all positive. I don't feel
Yeah.
there's nothing that's a red flag or making me think, oh, this isn't going to last. I have nothing but positive thoughts for them, but it still feels so fresh, but it's
Yeah, it
not.
does. The family seemed to mesh well together. I mean, I don't know if I forgot, but David's dad is a cutie. Like he was just when they were playing pool and all that, and they all seem to talk and get along well together. And Madison decides, oh yeah, we moved in together. She just dropped the bomb on that. And he says, congratulations. But in the confessionals, he's like, I think it's a little premature. But I don't know. How long does it take to move in? It's 13 months at
Right.
this point. So.
Like, I was a little shocked she hadn't told him because she is so close with her dad. And I know
Mhm.
I'm very close with my dad and I wouldn't be able to just drop that, but maybe that's their relationship. But yeah, it did seem odd because 13 months actually seems like a long time well, we don't know when they moved in together, but
Yeah.
how it couldn't have been that long if the dad didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a little strange.
So it made me think of wherever it is that they went to, I can't remember if it was a bar or just a place where they play pool. How does that work production wise? Do they pick the places or do you guys pick places and then they go get permission? Like dates? Do you get like multiple options or do you list your options or do they come with you? How does that whole place work
It's a
for
little bit of
wrestling?
both. So normally they'll just say, or when you're filming, like you
Yeah.
have your filming schedule, and they'll say, okay, Wednesday at 5:30, be at this place. So because they have to get permission and not permits, but they have to, basically make sure that they're allowed to film there and all that.
Yeah.
And they have to get things signed, whatever. So they set all of that up, but they would ask us, what do you guys want to do? And then when we needed to go furniture shopping and we said we want to go to a furniture store and buy a bed frame, the only store that they could get to film in was a couch store, but they set that all up. So they'll ask you what you want to do and then try to work within it. But sometimes they'll just say, okay, you guys are doing this today and you don't really even know why, but you're just
Oh.
doing it. Or they'll have like I would imagine in the beginning of the season, they talk to locations and
Okay.
they'll agree, and then they'll agree to film, and then they'll say, okay, we'll let you know when we're ready for you, because there were a few places one of our producers kept saying, we always have that place if we want to go to, or I spoke to them and they can have us, but not during their business hours. So we would have to go before they open or after they close. So there are places you could essentially choose from, but those are really for if it's outside of the schedule.
Okay. So what's an example of something they told you and you didn't know what you were going to do? Like, how do you know how to dress up? Or like,
Well, they'll tell you before you do it, but you don't necessarily have a say in it. Like on
oh,
the
okay.
couples retreat for us, they were like, okay, you're going mini golfing today. And we were like, no, we want to do whatever activity it was. It's like a indoor theme park or something. And they were like, no, Jasmine and Eris are doing something similar, and Shaq and Kirsten are doing something kind of like that. So you guys are mini golfing. So we
Okay.
knew what we were doing, but we didn't really have a
Any
choice.
Yeah.
I think for our 1 month anniversary, Chris planned the helicopter ride, but they made a reservation at some restaurant, and we knew it was going to be a nice restaurant, but we just showed up. We didn't have any say in what we were eating, or where we were eating, I should say. But most
Yeah.
of the things they planned were really fun or cool or different. So we
Yeah.
did get to experience things we probably wouldn't normally.
Okay. So like things for the couples retreat where you drive to, do you get reimbursed for gas?
I think so. Trying to remember. I think so. I would imagine, yes, Chris did the driving. Obviously, I'm a passenger princess, but I do think so.
Okay. When they had the secrets revealed episode, I think Mika from the DC season said how when they went on their honeymoon, their credit cards, her husband's credit card got declined
Yeah,
for
that was
that.
crazy.
So I'm like, wait, so you guys have to put your credit cards for incidentals, like they Lifetime or whoever don't put their credit cards for that?
They don't. I remember I checked us in because Chris was filming something. So I checked us in and I put my card down because I made a comment to him like, I don't know you, but don't cause any damage. But I mean, nothing goes on it. It's only if something happens. And I would
Yeah.
imagine they would reimburse you if it was something out of your control. But if you do trash the hotel room and you get charged for it, I wouldn't think that the production company would reimburse you because that's you being a jerk.
Okay. I just thought like they reserved a block of rooms even for the crew and all that, and then they would pay for it. So I was very surprised
I
that
mean, they do pay for it. You just leave the card, which they should, but
yeah.
I don't know why. I guess it is that situation of like, if you do something you're not supposed to be doing, they're not liable to pay for it.
Yeah. So, a lot of questions that I got also were about compensation for being on the show. Is there, because a lot of people were wondering why couples didn't quit the season compared to others? Is it the more you stay, you continue to get, I'm guessing there are stipends or something, the longer you stay? And is there repercussions if you decide, you know what, it doesn't matter, I'm still leaving?
So in your contract, it specifically states that you have to film the entire time. It says the dates of filming and it says
Mhm.
you have to film. And if not, you are liable for or whatever the legal term is, but you're basically liable for lost wages. So they could sue you. It was like a crazy amount. It was like $50 or $100,000 if I remember correctly. So we all were joking, like, you can't quit because it's not worth $50,000. Just
Yeah.
make it the 8 weeks. So I don't think they sue anyone, but I think that's a deterrent because they could. But I do think the producers try to make people stay as long as possible because they need things to film. They can't
Yeah.
just film. I mean, you saw with Denver, it was like two couples.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this season was shorter, because at the end, they already knew about David and Madison. And Mem and Nkechi had already gotten their faux divorce. So it was Camille and Thomas and Carla and Juan. Like, that's not
Yeah.
a season. So I think people stay because you're contractually obligated and the producers will do anything to make you film.
Yeah.
So even if you are getting a divorce, you say on the show, we're divorcing. Like for our season, Dom and Matt got divorced right after the honeymoon, or they split up, but they still brought them back to randomly come to things, film with us because they needed them on the show. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a choice. it's a choice, but I don't think it's so much people want to film. They just choose to film to complete their contractual obligation.
Yeah. And is there any extra bonuses if you say yes on decision day?
You get a husband and a wife.
Okay.
No, you'd think like Pastor Cal would call us or something and check in, but no, you get nothing except a spouse, which is
Okay.
the prize. That's the prize at the end of the day.
Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, the family for David and Madison going well, and then David pulls Madison's dad aside and then asks for her hand in marriage, and her dad says that he's a fantastic man and they deserve a fantastic um ending. And I think I wanted to ask Nicole. I remember your dad very clearly from your season. If you were the Madison, what would your dad's reaction be? Starting from when you tell him, "Well, Dad, I found the true love of my life."
I honestly think my dad would be supportive because he was not supportive of this wedding at this marriage at all. But I remember him word for word saying, because I said, I will not do this if you're not there by my side. And
Mm,
he said, I don't support this, but I support you. And if this is what you want and this is what's going to make you happy, I support you. So I think had I been Madison, he would have said the same thing. I don't really like how this happened, but if this is what Nicole wants, this makes her happy, I will support it. So I thought that was really nice. He gave the blessing. I did think it was a little odd to ask for her dad's blessing when he's not planning to propose anytime soon, which maybe he is, but
mhm.
that would have been good to tell us on in his confessional. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to propose. Let me ask for permission, because it seemed a little preliminary, but I think that was just for the cameras, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to that reminds you like it is a TV show.
Right.
At the end of the day. Yeah, I asked because I gave her dad a little flack when she first told him, and I was like, "Oh, you didn't get on her case a little more." And then a friend reminded me, like, if you were in that situation on camera, I'm not gonna berate you on camera. I'm just gonna smile, and maybe off camera I'll say something, but on camera, I'm just gonna be like, "I support you." That's what it's gonna be.
Right.
So.
And I imagine she told him off camera that she wasn't really into Alan. So I don't think the dad was so shocked. And if this was her husband of 3 years and she was like, hey, I'm cheating and I'm with this new man, maybe. But I think the dad seems very much like her. Like, I'm just going to go where this takes me today. And I think he's just supportive of her, which is really nice to see. But it's still even more weird that she didn't tell him they were living together.
Mhm.
Like, he's asking for her hand in marriage and he just found out they live together. But maybe it's
Yeah.
not a big deal to them. I don't know.
Well, good luck to them like the rest of everybody. I'm just truly curious to see how or where everybody's going to be. A true where are they now in about 2 years? And it'll
Yeah.
be so hilarious if Madison and David like have a kid or get married way before Camille and Thomas. That would be so hilarious to me.
Yeah. And if that's what they want,
Yeah, it is. So, okay. So Michelle is hanging out with Carla. It seems like everyone likes to say that the rest of the group don't hang out with Michelle. I don't know. Do you get that vibe, Nicole? Like,
no, I think the group is very separate, but
yeah.
I just think Madison and David don't hang out with Michelle.
Yes.
But
That's
I don't know if the girls hang out with Madison so much as they hang out with Madison and David in a group setting. I don't think Carla is getting coffee with Madison.
I think she's the only one who stood on business in that. And I was going to ask if that happened in your friend group because I'm still, yes, they're mature and they're doing all the things, but I'm just, if I were Michelle, and I know online everyone is like, Michelle doesn't deserve any of the things, how would I feel hanging out with the people who cheated on me or went behind my back? Because Camille is all, I think she's the Switzerland. She's the one who hangs
Yeah.
out with them. She's very close to Madison also. And I'm like, how does that work when you're around? Like, can you be close to someone who's close to someone you don't mess with? Like, how would you handle that? Would you be Switzerland or take a stand?
I would be Switzerland, because here's what I always say is you are not friends with these people. And I know I'm friends with my cast now and we developed friendships, but you don't know these people before you film. You see them maybe a total of like 6 hours during filming. You develop friendly banter because you're going through this experience together. But if you don't talk to each other after filming, there's no love lost there because you were never friends to begin with. So I don't think it would be right for Michelle to say to Camille, like, oh, I can't be your friend if you're going to be their friend, because they're not, none of them were really friends to begin with. But I wouldn't hang out with anyone in that situation. If I were Michelle, like, I wouldn't want to be near David and Madison. I don't blame her at all because, again, they were not friends. And if anything, Madison was a quote unquote friend to her and screwed her over. Like the David thing, that was their own situation and it should be worse what he did because he was married to her, but she was directly treating him like crap. But she was nothing but kind to Madison from what we know. So there was no reason Madison should have done all that to her. So I don't blame her for not hanging out with them. I don't blame Camille for being Switzerland because it's hard, as they're basically the Nicole and Chris of their season where everyone else got divorced. So thankfully we didn't have to pick sides, but it was a little awkward because when you're filming, you're all hanging out as couples because that's what you are. But when everyone else splits up on decision day, you're no longer almost forced to be in a group setting. It's more like, who are we inviting? So it is a little uncomfortable, even if everyone is civil. But I don't know that I would want to hang out with anyone in that situation, but I wouldn't blame anyone for still being friends.
Because I go back to the couples retreat when Carla said, I don't even want to hang around someone who's able to do that kind of thing. And I don't see her hanging out with Madison, actually. So that's why I use Camille as an example. She only hangs out with Michelle. So it's like, do you have that notion? And some people take this very seriously, where it's like, you did this, so automatically I can't trust you.
Yeah, I think it's more of that. I think it's more of, this shows your character. This shows what kind of person you are. This shows how you treat your friends. I don't want to be friends with someone like that. But I would think it's strange if she doesn't talk to Madison because of what she did to Michelle. Like, let's get over it. But maybe she's like, I just don't like the kind of person you are. That could be. They don't have to be friends.
So one last time, you've given me your answer, but say it was you and Chris and...
I'd kill him. No, I'm just kidding.
No, wait. I'm kind of if I use Gina or Kirsten, and they do that to you, and then whichever one, Kirsten is like, well, I'm still hanging out with Gina. It's fine. Would you still be...
I would not care if they were hanging out, but I would not want to hang out with them.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't say, oh, let's all hang out and it's okay, let's be civil. But I wouldn't care if they hang out, as long as it wasn't them hanging out and I don't get invited to things because they're together. That would be my thing. It's like, I'm not going to be excluded because you picked sides. So if you're going to pick sides and I'm not the one you pick, then we don't need to be friends. But if you can spend equal time, then that's cool with me. I also don't care about a lot of things. Like, I don't hold on to grudges. I don't really care. Like, people have wronged me in my life, and I'm like, I don't even remember at this point because I have so much going on in my head. I don't have the capacity to hold on to that kind of anger, especially if other people have moved on. Like, don't leave me as the petty one and you're over there living your best life.
See, that's how I know Jesus is still working on me, because I think I'm going to be petty because I'm thinking about it. I do think you make a great point. They weren't friends before the show, and that mix of it being a TV show, it's like a different layer and makes that muddies everything. But if it was real life, I think I'll be petty. It's not even a valid, rational reason. I'm just like, I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't care.
Oh, if it was my friend who did this, I would go on a murderous rampage. But because these people are not only not friends, they only know each other because of this marriage situation. So it's a very specific scenario. But yeah, if we were friends before this and this happened, I'd be like, no, you're dead.
Well, Michelle is hanging out with Carla. It looks like Carla got her place. It looks really nice because, for those who don't remember, she had moved out of her place because she thought she was going to meet or find her husband and they could just find a place together. But her place looks really nice.
Yeah.
Michelle shares with her that she doesn't, of course, naturally doesn't keep up with Madison and David and Ikechi. Like she doesn't care, but everybody else she's keeping up with. Michelle does admit that she did some things wrong and how she behaved in the beginning. She was an absolute bitch, and it's so cringy watching it back. And Carla tells her that yes, you had your bad moments, but I admired your honesty. And Michelle is like, people stay sliding in her DMs telling her she needs to
I
change.
bet. I bet.
And she's gonna have that in the next 2 years. Your season just came out on Netflix, right, Nicole?
Yeah.
So,
December. Yeah. So
oh
she's,
man,
well, who knows? With the being on Peacock, it might come out right away.
oh yeah. So, yeah, she needs to brace herself for
Yeah.
whenever it comes out again.
Yeah. She did not, this show was not good for her in any sense of it. And I get the feeling by her apologizing that it was not a bad edit. This was her behavior. I think she just reacted really poorly. I don't think that's how she is all day, every day. I think she was just not handling the situation at all.
Mhm.
But they always used to say to us, the producers, they would say, we're just holding up a mirror to you. This camera is just a mirror. You do your thing and we're just filming it so you could see it back. But I do remember those first few episodes we watched. I was like, oh, so all those things I think are cute and funny are not. Like they're not cute or funny, and you're actually very annoying. And then people would be in my DMs telling me that. I'm like, yeah, got it. So she's probably going through it. And for that, I feel for her.
I say this all the time. I don't know how you guys win on reality TV. You have to be a special kind of person. I would never.
It's so hard.
Like what was in your thought process when you applied and you saw, man, I can be on camera? Like I couldn't take the criticism.
Honest to God, I fully admit this, and I fully admit I was wrong. I thought everyone was going to love me. I was like, I'm so funny. I'm so personable. I'm very kind and I'm loving. Everyone is going to just fall in love with me. I'm going to be my true self on TV. I'm going to be emotional and I'm vulnerable and I'm not going to have any walls up. And I was wrong. I did act like that. I was my true self, but some people liked it. Some people didn't. I was not prepared for that. Most people say very nice, supportive things to me, but then there's a few and I'm just like, okay, you're not one of my fans, and that is okay. There's plenty of people out there I do not like. I would not tell them that on the internet, but I think if I had known, there's no way to prepare you.
Yeah.
There's literally no way someone could prepare you. They try their best, but you just don't know till you're in that situation.
Yeah. Oh, kudos to you guys. I say that all the time. I give all my commentary, but then I'm like, yeah, I have to remember that it cannot be easy. When you made that comment that the producer said, "It's the camera is just a mirror being held up against you," I'm just like, break that mirror down. I don't want to see it. Not looking at my reflection.
It's hard. And even, I love to talk shit and I love to have my opinions. I'm not normally well, I don't know. Like if I have an opinion, I will say it. But even when we do this podcast, when I do my own podcast, I struggle because I have my opinion, but at the same time, I know I've been there where I've been misjudged, or there's so much going on behind the scenes that wasn't shown. And I'm just or people are making a snap judgment based on what they see. So I do keep that in the back of my mind, but I still have my opinions. I make them based on what I see, though. That is my caveat.
Yes. I think Michelle asked a very good question that, Carla, would you want to date someone who's as free-spirited as you are? And then Carla goes on a whole tangent. She went on a date with a guy and it was even too much for her. He was just very free-spirited. The short answer is she wants a structured person. So the question is, would a structured person want Carla? Would they be able to take it?
I hope so. I think yes, but Juan was just too structured. Even though he had his fun side, I think he's a business first, fun second. And she needs someone similar to her, but where she's like 60% kooky, 40%, maybe she's like 70-30. She needs someone 30-70. So an equal balance of kookiness and serious.
I've been saying this all season. Juan is serious, but I do think he's kooky. I think the issue is just he was not interested at all. Juan is the person who was in after party saying something pooped on him, and he was like, "Oh my God, this was such a blessing. And of all the people in the world, this creature had to poop on me, and it was so great." And I'm like, okay, dude. But he just wasn't into Carla. I think that was their main issue. But if he was into her, they would have been one of the best couples to come out of MAFS. They would have balanced each other so well.
I agree, but I think now looking back, I think he was there for business first, love second. Like, if love happens, this is great. But if not, I'm going to set myself up for all of these opportunities. So I just don't like him anymore.
Like I always say, MAFS is not the show to come on to promote yourself.
You're telling me. People are like, oh, you signed up for this. Like, no, I make no money off of this. I am not at all. Like, I'm not getting these brand deals. You want to do that? Go on Love is Blind. They hit 1 million followers overnight. They're getting $100,000 sponsorships. I'm like, I still work my full-time job. I'm lucky. Like, maybe I get, I don't know, a discount on like something insane that isn't even expensive, which I'm grateful for. It's not a complaint. It's more just, this is not the show to be famous on. And honestly, he wants to come out with all of these products. Who's buying them? Like, the people who watch this show, like us, I don't want your poncho. I really don't. I don't want your jail bag. Like, it's not cool. Wrong audience. Like, no.
Oh man. So yeah, that was their conversation. And we'll move on to the Camille and Thomas, the loving couple who sometimes when you're loving, you could fall into the boring category. And they go visit his twin brother. And this was a very weird visit for me, Nicole. I just, after a year, I'm expecting them to be like in love and the honeymoon phase. And I just was not getting that vibe. What was the vibe you were getting?
I agree with you. Well, first of all, seeing his twin every time freaks me out because they're so identical. Like, his brother's a little beefier, but like, I wouldn't be able to have a husband with a twin brother like that. It would freak me out. So that's just first off. But I did think they would be a little more comfortable and lovey, but I go back to the same thing I said about Madison and David before. Like, maybe it's the cameras that are making them feel weird. Like, for me, it was very easy to be lovey on camera, and I'm not a lovey person, but I don't know. I feel like having the cameras there maybe made it a little more uncomfortable and staged almost, but it did feel like they were still freshly married. And after a year, there should be a little more of a comfort level, but I think they're both just like smooth, easygoing. Neither of them seem that they emote a lot or show a lot of love and affection. They're kind of just there and happy, but not in your face about it, is the vibe I get.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. And then the conversation he had with his brother made me more worried when he says, I'm still waiting for us to get to that passionate stage. And then his brother was like, what does that mean? You're not getting any, I don't know, it was bleeped out and I couldn't tell what he said, but it was sex. He was like, no, we're sexually active, but I'm just waiting to be in that. Can't do without you, feeling in love. I can't do anything without you. And I'm like, how long does it take? How long did it take you to have those feelings? I think a year is feasible. Like, how much more longer do they need? The 8 weeks alone is accelerated, I would think.
Yeah.
So why are they not there yet? Or is he the only one that's not there? Does she know this? That I wanted to see more of.
And again, this is me just observing what I see, but I get the vibe that neither of them are super lovey. So maybe they're just not vocal about their feelings. But I would hope now that the show is done airing, things will change a little. So I know for Chris and I, we were hot and heavy when it was filming. We were madly in love and I can't spend a day without you. And then the cameras went away. The show aired. We kind of went through a little rough patch, but that was because of me. Like, watching the show was not good for my mental health. It had nothing to do with our relationship, but it was affecting our relationship because I was in such a bad place.
Yeah.
And then things kind of like calmed down. And then once the show was completely done airing, it stopped being like, people weren't in our inbox anymore. And we went back to what we call normal life.
Yeah.
That's when we kind of got a second burst of energy. And now we're basically in our honeymoon phase again, because now we feel like a real married couple, not just a couple who got married on TV and stayed married. So I do think now that the show is done airing, they don't have to be private, because it was difficult. We couldn't really be out in public, even though now it's so silly. I'm like, who would have noticed us? Like, someone at the grocery store, who cares? it's not like TMZ is following us around, but we couldn't be public about it. Even like we were at his family's for Christmas and we were taking all these pictures and I was really proud of my new husband, but I couldn't show them anywhere. And we had to be really secretive and we weren't supposed to tell coworkers even. So I think a lot of that added stress makes it harder to really engage in your marriage right away. So now that everything's out in the open and they don't have to be private anymore unless they want to be, I think that should hopefully make them a little bit more involved in their relationship with each other. But maybe they're just not a passionate couple. I don't see it. I don't see them being passionate, but maybe behind closed doors.
Yeah, maybe, because I'm just remembering she just posted a video for their anniversary or birth something, and it was just like a collage, like slides of pictures of them, and it was really cute. So you might have a point there that maybe it's just the cameras and all that, and it seems to be very stressful to have your lives filmed and being the only couple. I think I was going to ask you that pressure of being the only couple that made it out of season. What is that like?
Well, for us, it was a little difficult because we're the only, now there's Camille and Thomas, but we were the only successful couple since like season 13, I think. So it felt very much like,
really?
I think so. Yeah. It felt like everyone was basing, is this show even good anymore on our relationship? Because if no couple makes it, it's not a good show anymore. So there was that weird pressure, which I also think I added to our relationship, because I remember there would be times I was in a bad place. I'm like, well, we can't break up because, we don't want to disappoint people, but it had, I say this and I mean it, it had nothing to do with our relationship and everything to do with me not handling everything going on well. And I immediately jumped to like, well, what can I do? But we're good now. Everything's fine. But all of that to say is, I think for them, there's also that thing of like, everyone's getting hate probably on the internet and they're not, which is good, but it probably feels weird to be liked when everyone else is not well liked.
Yeah.
I mean, I got tons of hate, but Chris didn't. So he was always like, people would be like, oh, you cried. I'm like, if that's the worst you get, yeah, you cried over our dogs. Okay. You should have, because that was a really crappy situation. So such a nice boy. He really is.
She's in love.
I love him.
Okay, so they talk about that, and I just feel better after seeing her Instagram pictures, but I know after that conversation I was like, but he was the one complaining about her not showing a lot of emotion, but maybe he doesn't realize that he doesn't either and that he's a little monotone.
Yeah. So. He probably thinks he shows more emotion because he feels it, but he's not showing it. So I really think they're both just not showing how they feel, and maybe they're not as vocal as they could be. So they probably feel a lot more in love than they're voicing. But
yeah,
his brother did bring up kids, which kind of upset me because I know how I feel when people bring it up to me. It's like, I know it's been a year, but it's only been a year. They've only known each other a year. I know he's a little older, but let them breathe. They are the only successful couple from their season. We don't have to pressure, when are kids happening? When are we buying a house? Like, let them, if it was a year into dating, no one would even bat an eyelash about that. But
yeah,
because they're married, the pressure just feels unnecessary.
I'm with you. Even when Kevin brought it up at the reunion, I was like, we're still asking people about babies. Like, it's not okay to me. And what wasn't even okay was the way his brother told her, like, you have all the time in the world to build a career, but you don't have all the time in the world to have a child.
Yeah.
I was ready to fight.
I did not care for that.
Who
she
are
doesn't
you?
Need, she knows her age. She doesn't need to be told her age.
She's 33. It's not even that bad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I did not care for that.
Yeah, that was not okay. He's lucky. She just kept quiet or took it in stride. Okay, so they host a game night with Madison and Dave. And I think they mentioned in the reunion that they live right around the corner from each other. They're now in their new, Camille and Thomas, that is, in their new apartment. Madison says that she and Camille see each other, and Camille and Thomas have never judged them, so they enjoy hanging out with them. So Thomas does mention that they're trying to make it work on this and making sure that it's not an experience or an experiment and letting the pressure of their marriage just because they said yes. So I don't know. At that point, I was like, they seem bored. But again, I hope not. I really want them to last.
Yeah, I really do think it's that thing of like you go in a transitional period, you're filming and then you're not filming, but you can't be open about it. And your whole life is the show from before you start filming until probably 6 months after. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to get back into regular life. But then once you do, things are great. So I think they should be getting into that spot right now.
Yeah.
I think the filming and probably for them to go back to filming after a year of not filming was a challenge.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they're just waiting. Well, it happened now, but they were just waiting for the show to finish airing and they could be on their way.
Yeah, and even without cameras, marriage is an evolution. You just
Yeah.
gotta, roll with it till you find your sweet spot. So yeah, okay. Sending him all the good juju over there. Ikechi, remember him? He was part of the
Not
cast.
really.
I was wondering if he added DJ to his resume because his laptop had him there. He was like DJ Ojore, which is his last name. And I'm like, okay, he's doing that. I'm still wondering if he's still teaching because he says he's doing his art, his music, but he's not saying that he's still teaching.
He probably
So
got fired when they saw the show. He was just, I wondered why. I know he had to come back, but I was like, why are you here? He's just irrelevant to me.
You're not buying into his, he seemed to take accountability for everything that he did. And at the reunion, he apologized, saw a different
Yeah.
side. No, not working for you.
I think another one, ironically, very performative, but he should not have been on the show. I said it last time. I've said it from the start. He should not have been on the show. He even says, I went on a show, but I'm a very private person. And you can be private, but you can't have all of these feelings off camera because why go on a show then? And I think he was expecting it to be one thing, was not willing for it to work. And I don't think he really cares or acknowledges that he was a jerk. I think he just feels bad about how he was portrayed, but it was a mirror being held up to him. So if he feels bad, he should reflect inward. But I wasn't buying it. I was like, get him off my screen. Like I don't know. It just he just upsets me. He's so just irritating. I just want to squeeze him and shake him a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm really
yeah,
hoping he learns something from this because he's the only one that doesn't care about a timeline because all these people are dating and he's just like, no, I'm recovering. Oh, I'm not jumping into a relationship. And
recovering
I'm
from
like,
what?
oh, whatever he thinks did to him. I think he really still feels like he was the wronged party and he feels like this engagement vindicates him.
Which it doesn't, but
So,
she just has bad taste in men. I think that's what it comes down to. She didn't pick Akechi, but she liked him.
she
And
did.
that is a red flag right there.
Yeah, and they have similarities. Like her fiance and Ikechi are very big and performative in that
Hmm.
sense. So he tells his brother that he wants kids, but he doesn't see himself jumping into a relationship. And I'm like, I don't know. Can Ikechi be a better dad than he is a husband? Because if he wants kids, he could have kids. But Ikechi feels like someone who is hiding something. And that sounds so sinister. And for anyone who thinks I'm not saying anything about his sexuality, that is not what I mean at all. He just feels like he's so cagey. There's
Yeah.
privacy and then there's caginess. And he's just so cagey about something. And it's like, let it go. We can see him be tight. Like, just be light. Let whatever it is
Right.
go. Let it be free, and your life will open up for you. And that's what I mean by he's so cagey. You're holding on to whatever it is that you think, whatever it is that happened to you, and you're not allowing yourself to be free and letting all the good things come to you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he just needs an attitude adjustment. Like he walks into every situation with a stink face on and he doesn't even know what's about to happen. So I really think he needs a lot of self reflection. And my only worry is that he probably won't even watch it, honestly. But if he sees any clips, he might be like, yeah, there was nothing wrong with my behavior there. So I worry that for him because I always say the best thing you can get out of the show is a spouse. But second to that is self reflection and growth. And I just don't see any of that coming from him. But maybe he's doing it in private, even though that's something you should be celebrating. out in the world. But he's a private person, so that's why he went on a reality show.
I'll give him I caught that, Nicole. Um, I'll give him 5% grace in that I do think that he was realizing this because he hung out with the guys and he seemed very taken aback that he enjoyed it. And that's what I mean by open yourself up to good
Yeah,
things to happen to you. He even told his mom, like, I was so surprised. It was a good hang. I didn't think they cared for me because you closed yourself off. And this group is actually a good group for whatever happened with David and Madison to happen because they handled it well. They're not even being as judgmental as some groups might have been. And no one would have faulted you if you were open. Part of why they were behind well, because she was the wrong party, was also because they could hear her story. Ikechi
right.
never shared his story, was never around, acted like they were bothering him. So, of course, you're not going to get the real them. And he also got emotional when I think some of them showed up to his art show and he was
Yeah.
so surprised, like, oh my God. And he acted like he's never had friends before. I know he doesn't have friends in Chicago, but that's what friends do. And that's what happens when you're not a stank face and a Debbie Downer. So,
Yeah, he was probably surprised because why would they want to show up to his art show when he was such a jerk to them? But,
yeah.
again, there's that trauma bonding. And you do, even though you're not friends when you start, there is that part of you that's like, we went through this together. No one else will ever go through this. So there is that bond. Like
Yeah.
every time Eris runs a half marathon, I go and watch it with a sign. But my friends in New York, they used to run. I'm like, okay, meet me at the bar after. Like, I'm not going to stand there and watch you running. So there's just a level where you want to support these people more because you've seen them go through this ridiculous situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he can't wait to be divorced. He went to go see a divorce lawyer who looks so much like Rachel from the Houston season. But they had that
Yeah.
conversation, and there was that weird dig where the lawyer is like, "Oh, your ex-wife is engaged already while still married." We know it's a TV show; there are cameras there. So
Right. She's like, oh, so tell me a little bit about your wife. I'm like, you know exactly what show he's on. You know exactly why he's getting a divorce. It was the same thing when Amem met with Brandon for the first time. He's like, so tell me about your husband. Like,
Mhm.
there are cameras there. You had to sign waivers. You know that she married a stranger. Maybe you don't know the full concept, but you don't think she's been married to this man for 10 years. You
Yeah.
know, this divorce lawyer knew what was going on. So we don't need acting. Like, there's enough drama out there. We don't need actors.
Oh, speaking of that, Carla and Juan, they confuse me so much because why are they going into business with each other? Last we
I don't
left
know.
in this season was we don't need to be friends. We don't need to talk to each other. By the reunion, they're having coffee, and now they're going into business with each other. And then, giving what's happening in real time, it's kind of like
They're
what?
not going into business anymore. I
And
would imagine, again, I'm making assumptions, but I would imagine time has passed and he was like, hey, I have this great business idea. I'll do all the work. Just help me with what you can and we'll share the money. And she was like, okay, you want to do the work? Cool. And she probably realized it wasn't worth it because he's a weirdo.
I mean, if he took this meeting seriously, why did he show up with no laptop? I'm telling you, I have never just bought into this one is so serious thing. I mean, maybe because it's a TV show, but what business meeting comes without not even a notebook? He just strode in there.
It could not have been a real business meeting. I mean, he probably was like, we're just meeting. I'm meeting Carla. We're going to talk about ponchos. This was not a serious meeting for him, but
Mm.
I don't think they're going to go into business anymore. So we won't be able to buy his poncho prison bags.
Launch. It's so funny because the logo is what his Instagram profile picture is, and I'm like, is that still happening? But okay. He does host the guys. The guys come in with Ikechi. Ikechi apologizes to them for the lack of him that they got, and that's when he mentions the whole private thing. And they ask Juan how long he's been with his girlfriend, and he says a year. Help me do the math, Nicole.
So he probably met her right after decision day, or maybe he knew her before. Because I know Gina and her boyfriend just hit 2 years yesterday, on the 25th, whenever that was. They hit 2 years and because they had known each other. So they started dating like right after kind of decision day. And Jasmine and her now fiance, they
Okay.
went on their first redate because they had dated in college. They went on their first date the night after we filmed something. We filmed something. It was after decision, well
Yeah.
after decision day, but they went on a first date after that. So, you know,
That's when he was.
sometimes you need a bad marriage to show you who you should date because everyone seems to be getting in these great relationships immediately after.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I was going to be like, the season and timelines, but I guess it does happen because I'm like, this is exactly 1 year. So when did you meet? But I also don't know if he knew her beforehand or not. So, okay.
And he
I'll,
wasn't emotionally invested, so it's not like he needed to get over anything. He wasn't
yeah.
going through a heartbreak.
Yes, that's true. Someone did bring that up online saying, like, the 8 weeks is probably because I was like, don't they need a breather to just kind of catch their breath before getting into another relationship? And someone pointed out that those 8 weeks are the breather because they're not invested.
Yeah.
It's not a thing for them. So they're just like, set me free. And then that's it. So,
Yeah.
okay. So Alan mentions that he doesn't have a relationship with David or Madison. And he's actually glad that they're still together versus if it was a hookup, that this would have been more painful because it's like, so you did all that just to have a hookup. And he just throw in that he has to leave early because David is not there yet, and they told him that David was coming. And I don't know that I believe he had to leave early. I just think he doesn't want to be in the same presence as David because why
Yeah.
should he?
I don't blame him. And I almost prefer that he lied if that was the case
Yes.
because it just was a clean out.
Yeah.
He didn't have to make it awkward, but I wouldn't want to be around David. And I agree with him. They blew up everyone's lives, but there's a happy ending. So
Yeah.
that's what we can focus on.
Yes, absolutely. He thinks that Madison handled things very well, except how she shit on him the whole time. He just wished that she took more accountability for that. Juan brings up the commitment ceremony for and all the guys start talking, and they have the same concerns we do because they say that they hope that Brandon is in it for the right reasons, and they hope that when the camera shut off, he proves that that is not why he was on there. That was a very specific statement to say. So
Yeah.
I think they're concerned, although from Juan, because Juan is always liking Brandon's post every day. So him saying that is like, okay.
I think it's a valid concern. I mean, they got engaged like after their first date, basically. So I think it's a valid concern, but they probably filmed Where Are They Now in like maybe November. So now it's what, almost April. So I guess the cameras have gone away and maybe they've hung out with him more. I also think Juan is trying to stay relevant however he can so he can sell his poncho prison bags. So that might be a reason for it.
So yeah, so they all say that, and they all David, I think David is here at this time, and he's just like, as long as she's happy because this is what she's wanted. And I just think having this conversation around Ikechi didn't have to happen. I know
Well, it
he
did
didn't
because
care.
it's a TV show. It's a TV show. They had to talk about it.
Ikechi had this look in his face like, okay, I don't need to be here. But that was funny. So I think the commitment ceremony is what brings everyone together. I think, like you mentioned, you guys had like a couples retreat. In other seasons, it's been someone's birthday or something. This was the only way to get this group together, and they sat on opposite ends on either way of the
Yeah, that
either
was weird.
side for all that. And I just wondered why Dr. P was pregnant. Dr. Pepper didn't want any parts of this. She didn't want to fly down. for-
No. I was shocked Pastor Cal showed up, quite frankly. I mean, when I say we walked out the door on decision day and that was
That
the
was it.
last of it, I mean, which I get it. Like he's not my personal pastor. We're not friends, but I think they asked Pastor Cal to do this as like a solid for the show because I'm shocked he showed up. And why would Dr. Pepper be there? She didn't match them. She probably thinks it's just as weird as we do. So why would she be involved?
I think my words were, I'm so mad at Pastor Cal for playing along with whatever this is because
Yeah. I think the counseling was good, but I think he should have stopped it at that and just said, you know what, the commitment ceremony also, talk about performative. They literally had a ceremony to say, when you get divorced in a year and a half, we will commit to getting married. Like, that's what an engagement is. You're not in high school giving a promise ring or whatever. Like, you don't need to do that in your 30s. You just don't.
And this is why, back then I think we had an episode where when Aid was still on, where we wondered about what are Pastor Cal's beliefs and his stance on things. Because most Christians, you're not supposed to get married while you're still divorced. So for him to
Right.
even have a ceremony that's like, okay, we commit to you, she's still married. She's not divorced.
And they're if everything goes according to plan, they will get married and
Married.
have a wedding. So why did we need her in a big white dress and have her friends and family there? Because we needed to film it. You're right. There needed to be a thing that
Mm-hmm.
made them all get together. So
Yeah.
that was the thing. I wonder if the show paid for it. Maybe that's why they agreed to it. He's like, yeah, I'll take any excuse for a free ceremony. Sure.
Yeah, that's what I think. And as if things were not bad enough, Pastor Cal mentions while he's on there at the altar that they're attracted to each other. And this man does this clapping thing again at
Disgusting.
the commitment ceremony. That is so
Disgusting.
immature. Ugh.
I'm assuming his kids weren't there.
No, I didn't see them.
No, it's
crazy.
It's gross. Like, we get it. You're a grown man having sex with your fiance. Congratulations. We don't need hand gestures. It's not cute. It's really embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for him, honestly.
Well, they do all that. They have all the cast. They're all talking to each other in different groups, and Michelle pulls David aside and she apologizes to him for everything, that she said and the way that she acted, and tells him that she's embarrassed and he did not deserve that at all. And I thought that was good. That was very grown. And I'm glad that, David allowed her to apologize, because when they showed the clip of Madison saying like she was just, protective and didn't like how Michelle didn't take accountability, I think Michelle had also said, oh, there I am taking accountability. It was going to be on this episode, but we hadn't seen it yet. But she did mention at the reunion that she had apologized to David and she had told him that. And I kept wondering, when did she apologize to him? Did we miss that? Was that on camera? So I wonder if this was it, or if she had previously apologize off camera. What do you think? Do you think?
Well, this was after the reunion. They filmed this after. So she must have, I would imagine when the first episode came out, she apologized.
Okay.
Because she saw how she acted. As horrible as she was to him during filming, I really don't think she saw it that way when it was happening. Yeah. So I think seeing it back for her was very eye-opening. And I do like that she took accountability, because it doesn't change the fact she didn't like him, but that's okay. You don't have to like him. No one's making you like him, but the way she acted was not fair to him, even if she didn't like him. So I do like that she owned that and said he didn't deserve it, because he didn't.
Yeah.
And whatever he did with Madison was after the fact. So I do like how she wasn't playing the blame game of, I acted one way, but you did this, so I was right. Because in the beginning, that was kind of what was happening. She's like, oh, I was right the whole time. Like, no, you weren't. You were right ahead of time. But I think they ended it on a good note. And I feel really good about that closure.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me closure, Michelle.
Yeah, I think it was. And that was, how the season ended, with the apology, with all of them being happy. And then they all mentioned what they're looking forward to in the future. And I just want to thank them for an entertaining season, because I was entertained. Yeah. And they need to thank David and Madison, because without them, I don't know what they would have had, for the season. So,
yeah. And it was a shorter season, which I don't know if that was intentional or if they just didn't have enough to film because there weren't enough couples, but it was just enough. I felt entertained, but it wasn't being dragged out to the point where I couldn't watch it anymore. So yeah, I really enjoyed the season. I wish there was more love, but at the end of the day, there's 3 couples. There's Camille and Thomas, David and Madison, and Mem and Brandon, who are happy. So it's not how we started, it's how you finish. And we finish on a high note.
Okay. So to round things up, I just have 2 more questions that were asked. Someone asked, are the nanny cams in the bedroom or just the living room?
Just the living room. And you can see them, but they're just in the living room, but they can pick up sound from the bedroom is what I've been told. I don't know how true that is, but yes, they're just in the bedroom or in the living room, and you're not supposed to unplug it. But we would just, if we were going to go into someone's apartment and talk shit, we would just unplug the cameras because they don't know until whoever sits up at night and watches the footage. It's not like they're sitting there watching it live. So they don't know you've unplugged it.
Ah, okay. And then, you know, when couples usually go and say, oh, I'm going back to my apartment, I'm leaving, do they have to get approval to not stay in the apartment, or can you just go in and out as you please?
That was actually shocking to me because we did not have that option. Like I would go back to my apartment. Chris and I both work from home, or he used to work from home, but at the time we both worked from home. So I would go to my apartment because we couldn't work in the same space and we had the whole dog situation. So I would take Charlie, my dog, back to my apartment every day and work from there and just have him there. But we didn't need permission for that. But every night I would come home. I would still live at the apartment. It was basically like going to an office. So, and I remember Gina didn't move in with Clint right away. And she didn't get permission so much as it was a whole big stink. And she had to talk to production. And they basically were like, you're moving in and you can stay in separate bedrooms. And she was fine with that. But in terms of sleeping at our own apartments at night, I don't think anyone did that. It wasn't even, it didn't occur to anyone that we could even do that. I mean, I didn't see any reason for it because everyone was either working on their relationship or in separate bedrooms, but that wasn't even an option. It wasn't even when Chris and I like maybe didn't have a good night. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go to my apartment. That just seems ridiculous. But I guess they were a little more lax this season.
Yeah. And there were 2 bedrooms, right?
So there are 2 bedrooms, but the second bedroom is the production room. So all of their equipment goes in there. And whenever they're filming in your apartment, all the sound people and the behind the scenes people stay in that room.
Yeah.
So you're really not supposed to go in there. But there is a bed. Well, at least our apartments had a bed because these are like short-term rentals, like corporate rentals, basically. So they're furnished. But we were told we couldn't use that room, even though I guess they wouldn't know. But again, there was no reason to. Like, we didn't hate each other. No one hated each other to the point where they couldn't share a bed if they had to.
I think in hindsight, I'm just realizing that your season actually really got along.
Oh yeah.
During and afterwards, like no one really like hated each other. The closest, I think I forgot because the closest was, you know, the whole Gina and Clint thing. But even by the end, they were friends. So
yeah. And that was really just a giant, not miscommunication, but that was 2 people just saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
To someone they didn't really know. But I mean, again, they're not friends. No one was friends before. They're definitely not friends now, but they're very civil. If we all were to get together, they would have so much fun in a group setting, but we're a really good group and I'm very blessed for it. But there was no bad blood. There was just no need for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, do you have any final thoughts for the season?
My final thoughts are, like you said, thank you for making it an entertaining season. I think I would have liked to see a little more, even if the couples didn't make it, I would have liked to see a little bit more working on the relationships where I feel like there was just Camille and Thomas and everyone else was kind of set from day one. So I do wish we saw a little bit of that, but I think it turned out as good as it could. And I will still be coming back to watch more. And I'm happy, very happy to induct Camille and Thomas into the Successful Couple Hall of Fame. And I'm really interested to see what happens in the next year or so, because there is so much with like the Juan and Carla drama. Is anything going to come from that? And Camille and Thomas, will they ignite that passion? And Madison and David, like there's so many things I'm interested in following up on.
Yeah.
So I think that's the sign of a really good show when you care about the people even after it ends. Whereas like Denver, it's like, I just end the season, get off my TV. I don't want to hear it.
I think we're due for another Where Are They Now for the couples from all the seasons, just giving an update on where people are.
That would be a cool special.
Yeah, because they had one, I think, for season 10 or 11 after DC or something like that. But maybe give time because we really want to know what happens with season 18. So we'll give it time and see where the season 18 people land on that. And then my final question is, if you could enact any changes on the show, what would you change? Or what do you think, what do you hope Peacock changes?
I so I would normally say I want the experts to be more involved, but I do feel like they were very involved this season, maybe
Mhm.
because Pia lives in Chicago, but
Mhm.
I think that is something I really always want to see. And I would like to see more individual meetings with the experts, because I feel like a lot of times people meet with their spouse and they just don't say, even though the cameras are there, you still feel a little more comfortable when it's just you.
Yeah.
And this actually, I can't believe I didn't think of this. We need expert intervention on the honeymoon, because so
Mm.
many issues come from the honeymoon, because you're two people who have just met, married, you're stressed, you're tired, you're being thrown into something you've never done before, and everything is heightened. And how many couples come back from the honeymoon in a bad place because
Yeah.
we don't need a 23-year-old producer telling you how to be in this marriage. You need, even if it's not the Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper of the world, we need someone there. The only way we could talk to them is if you talk to them on camera. But if I had again, this wasn't my issue, but let's say with our situation with Chris and I and the dogs and the
Yeah.
honeymoon thing, let's say I really didn't like how he acted. And I went back and was like, I can't be with this guy because he's reacting over dogs like this, which obviously was not the case. That made me start to really like him. But
Mhm.
if I did have that reaction, I would have been back from the honeymoon with a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But had I had someone to talk to, we could have worked through that before getting home, because you get home from the honeymoon, you move in, I think you get a day or two off from filming because you go back to work, and then you meet with experts like the following week. So
Mm.
there's a really long time and a lot of stuff happens. Like David and Madison were meeting every day in the honeymoon.
Yeah.
Look what happened there. How many couples aren't attracted to each other after the honeymoon? I
Yeah.
think that would be a huge change for me, because we need to be introducing couples therapy as the couple is getting to know each other before they have these preconceived notions that they're just building upon.
So if you had a choice, would you keep it as is, where it is three different experts that you talk to at different times, but more involvement from the honeymoon? Or do you think that couples should be assigned experts, like how they're assigned producers, and every couple has a not a customized expert, but someone assigned to them, an expert that's assigned to them. So every time they needed something, they're there on
I
call.
think everyone having an individual expert would make sense. Like, I know for us, it felt like they had different categories. Like Pia was the sex expert,
Mm-hmm.
and Pastor Cal was more of like the love, and Dr. Pepper was more of like the deep rooted issues.
Mm-hmm.
And they would give out these little games and assignments where they didn't do that this season. And I really approved of that, because a lot of like the fishbowl questions, I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, they did do that this season.
Did they?
Yeah, because they did that with, I know Madison and Alan did that, because that's how we found out about like the tacos and then the letters and the things. They
Well, I
had
think
that.
that was their assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas all of that was like a week on the show. We met with, I can't remember. Dr. Pepper. Wow. I just had a brain fart. We met with Dr. Pepper and she gave us all the questions, and it was everyone's assignment that week to film doing the questions. So like Chris
Okay.
and I had to do them on a spin bike, and
Mm-hmm.
they just made it into a thing
Yeah.
where they maybe it was a little more casual this season. But I do feel like this season the experts were less segmented in their advice, and it was more just general
Yeah.
being experts. So I do feel like if you had your own assigned expert who you could really trust and grow a relationship with,
Yeah.
that would be helpful, because you really are lost. You can be the best couple in the world. Like, I think Chris and I are an amazing couple, but we struggled because we just had such a learning curve, and our producers they weren't there to help us, and they were not married. They didn't know
Mm.
how to be married to a stranger or
Yeah.
anyone. So we really weren't getting good advice from them. And it wasn't their job to advise us. It was their job to make TV.
Yeah.
I think that would be nice. But again, at the end of the day, it's a TV show. And I think they care more about that than the actual validity of these marriages. So get
Hey,
your own counseling.
they got them their Peacock deal. So Well, Nicole, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you here. But before we leave, can you share with people where they can find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. I remember my handle this time. It's Nicole_Woolley. That is just my childhood nickname, I want to say. Everyone thinks that is my legal name. It's Nicole_Woolley. And if you like podcasts, which you obviously do, you can listen to D-List Diaries. It is me, Gina, and Kirsten from my season. And we talk about this show, other shows, our daily lives. We jibber jab a lot, but it's a good time. So add it to your list.
Yes, go check them out, guys. And you know where to find me, but I will remind you, you can find me at AltarCall, MAFS, AltarCallMAFS on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Blue Sky. And if you want to send me an email, just add at gmail.com. Please give me a 5-star rating. It really helps on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And this is officially the last episode of the season, but I will still be having episodes. I'm trying to find like some MAFS related episodes. So just stay subscribed so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Well, until next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.